Hello, and welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on each volume. We keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans of the series, so this is the perfect place to follow along, whether you're new to the series or just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week, we will be covering the first part of Volume 63, Otohime and Tiger, which covers chapters 615 through 620. My name is Joel. I'll be your host. Joining me today, we have Evan.
What's up?
And we have Cody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's going to be,
It's gonna be February.
Middle January.
We're 3 weeks into January for us. So I hope it's been a somewhat happy New Year for you.
Just be clear, this is for 2025, not 2026. Now we're doing what we can to try to get these episodes out. It's been a little crazy lately with the holiday and everything going on in our area. So we're finally back in the swing of things. But hopefully for you guys, it's only been like 1 week. So, but we're excited to be back and jump into the next part of Fishman Island. Are you guys excited for this?
Oh yeah.
All right. So how about we get a little recap since we're starting a new volume here. I'm just going to read the summary from the beginning of the volume. Having finished their 2 years of training, the Strat crew reunites on the Sabaody archipelago. They set sail, more determined than ever to reach the new world. The Strats finally reach Fishman Island, said to be 30,000 feet below the sea. But with the new Fishman pirates attacking it, it seems like they may be in for a rough time. While they search the island, Neptune appears and invites them to Ryugu Palace to thank them for rescuing a shark. Inside the palace, Luffy meets the mermaid princess Shirahoshi. But because of Vanderdecken, Shirahoshi is unable to leave her room. In order to help grant her wish to leave the palace, Luffy takes her outside for the first time in years. Also, this is a very minor thing, but like in the summary, it says 30,000 feet. It's like
30 million.
It's like 30,000 feet.
Nice.
Yeah, I just said that was funny.
That's funny.
All right. So how about we just dive right in, no pun intended, to Fishman Island, and we'll actually go into the next part of the cover story before we get into the chapter itself. Decks of the World, Volume 3, Mount Corvo. Curly Dedan and her bandits celebrate Luffy's return.
Love this.
I love seeing Dadan happy.
I love to see Dadan scrapbooking. Got the piles of Luffy and Ace volumes throughout the years. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't see that. That's cute.
Yeah. Looks like she's taking like newspaper clippings and stuff and making scrapbooks.
They're all wearing the straw hats to like celebrate Luffy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Remember those glue sticks from school too? Like the little like twisty glue sticks?
Like the Elmer's glue sticks.
Yes, exactly.
Start out purple, dries clear.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Brings me back. Brings me back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So nice to see them doing well after 2 years. Happy for Luffy. All right, let's move on to the chapter itself. Chapter 615, Mark Curse. Luffy and Shirahoshi leave the tower with Megalo. Chopper and Sanji find Hachi severely wounded. He's attacked by Vanderdecken when he refused to join him and Hody Jones. Word gets to Neptune that Shirahoshi is gone and they are under attack. Shirahoshi tells Luffy that she wants to go to the Forest of the Sea to visit her mother's grave. This also happens to be where Jinbei is waiting. All right, thoughts on this one?
It's so sad to see Hachi getting marked here, but also makes you think, isn't it kind of cool that like Hachi used to be the villain and now we're like, Hachi, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, he's become like a really sympathetic character that we do, have these legitimate like emotions for. Like we've had like, so many moments where like Hachi's been like hurt and we're like, oh no, poor Hachi. Like even back at Sabaody Archipelago, like
Yep.
Hachi gets shot, we're like, oh no, that just happened. Like, I hope he's okay. Yeah. So it's nice that Hachi is now a completely different character that we perceive than like we initially thought when he was introduced.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
like the first thing that came to my mind for this chapter was, could Hachi please get a break? And then Evan
Yeah.
hit the nail on the head. But like,
Right.
I
For
think for me,
real.
Hachi's always been like pretty endearing. But I think
Yes.
from the start, Oda was able to toe that line of, oh man, this character seems like so interesting, but like he's on the wrong side and he is an antagonist, and I can feel both ways about him. And now Oda's just like milk that for all I can. It's man, this poor guy. This poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the Arlong Pirates, he was like the most like friendly. Like he, gave Zoro like a ride and stuff like that. But like it's
Right.
because he thought he was like legitimately like a guest was supposed to be there. But he was part of Arlong's crew that terrorized Nami's village.
He was affable.
Yeah. So he didn't quite seem the same as the others, but like he did have his moments where he was fighting for his life against Zoro and stuff. But yeah, it is nice that he's kind of been reformed in a way, and he's now an ally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we see him kind of standing up against the villains here, even though they're fellow fishmen.
Right.
You know. And unfortunately, he is marked here. I think there's a fact given away that Vanderdecken, he says, I can designate one target with each of my palms. So it makes me believe that he can only have 2 targets at a time, which is why he's kept his hand gloved so that he could maintain Princess Shirahoshi as a target for all these years.
Yes. That's a very good point.
So if he maintains the glove, he can only have 1 target at a time, which seems important.
That's why he can't ever wash that one hand.
Yeah, pretty gross.
Was it the last volume when he went to shake hands with Hody?
Yeah, it was that was last volume.
Okay, yeah, where he like he almost like went to go shake his hands. Like, oh wait, hold on, I gotta put the glove on.
Yep.
Like that could have been bad. So that's why.
It's giving of Mice and Men. The one guy on the farm who was like simping after the girl who worked there, and he always had the glove on his hand.
It was
No?
like the Vaseline glove.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read that in a while.
This is the first time I've
was
thought
it-
about it in a very long time.
Is Lenny the lead character? Like, that's
Was
the
it
right
George
name.
and Lenny?
Yeah, George and Lenny.
Yeah, George and Lenny.
But that's for a different podcast.
Yep, another day.
Yeah. Seeing trends in the simps, I guess.
We also do see Vanderdecken put his powers to use here, where he sends like the flurry of arrows after Hachi. So he just kind of takes like all these objects and like throws them, and it's not like one time wait for this thing to hit. It's like, hey, let's just keep throwing everything at the wall, and we'll see like if something hits, and pretty much it won't stop until it finds its mark.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good power. Kind of lazy, but pretty good. I'm thinking like, what would constitute as a throw? Like, what if you like aggressively set something down on a table and it just like flew into the wall because it was marked? Like, I wonder if there's got to be intent behind his
If he
actions.
just dropped something accidentally,
right? Like if he dropped something, would it like fly into the wall, or would it just start flying towards the target?
Yeah, I don't know what the exact parameters are, like how much force has to be put into it, or
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question.
SBS time.
Goes to throw a banana peel into the trash and it flies into the wall and splatters. And he's like, damn. Forgot.
Yeah, no, I think he kind of missed his career. He could make a star basketball player or something. Yeah, he could have just gotten like 100% like score rate.
He could have made real life Mario Kart.
Everything's a blue shell to him.
Yeah.
Right.
But man, Hody's pretty brutal. Just saying, Hachi's literally pleading him and says, equal partnership. I can't stop him. Sorry, bud.
Hody clearly has his priorities lined up, and he's very set in what he wants to achieve and his mindset.
Also crazy seeing his order to the human, I guess, hostages that they've taken, saying their lives are worth less than slaves, and that their job is to hit the tower, and if they live, then they start attacking. And we're seeing the way that the celestial dragons have treated so many people, especially the fishmen, on its head. And it's the vicious cycle.
All right, is this the first time they actually mentioned that it's actually devil fruit for Vanderdecken? Because I know we had mentioned before how they had referred it to the Mark curse. The chapter calls it Mark curse as well. But Vanderdecken does state specifically he does have the Mark fruit. So it is confirmed to be devil fruit, not something else. Which is what we expect it to be, especially with like a naming convention like Mark something. But I'm just not sure if it was confirmed before this or not.
I think this is the first time I'm looking.
Does that make him the first fishman with a devil fruit ability in this story?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's got to be tough, not being able to. How does not being able to swim and being a fishman coexist? How does that?
Yeah, so
Right?
basically
He's on the ship that was coated. Like his ship's coated, so he's not exposed.
Yeah, so basically he's not going to be able to swim. So it's going to act
Right.
like, like if a human took it, they would just sink. So the same would apply to the fishman.
It's a dangerous life to lead.
The good thing is he could probably still breathe underwater, I'd imagine. But he's just going to be able to swim.
Right.
I'd be so curious about when he got the fruit and whether that affected his I guess just like affected him socially or anything growing up on Fishman Island. I don't know. Not being able to swim has to be tough.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out when he got the devil fruit at some point.
Maybe. I legitimately forget whether we do. So
yeah, me too.
We'll see.
Another fact I noticed in this chapter was when he flicks the knife aimed at Hachi, it stabs him in the back, even though like they're facing each other, but he throws the knife and it stabs him in the back. And I feel like that's interesting, and not only symbolic, but like interesting that they show the arc of it too. It like goes up, swings out behind Hachi, and then stabs him directly in the back. Which I don't know. Like I feel like the audacity to do that, like to stand, look at somebody in the face, and then stab them in the back, seems like such a, I don't know,
like a cheap shot.
Such a cheap shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we end the chapter where Shirahoshi wants to go see her mother's grave, which she hasn't been able to do because she's been locked up in the shell tower pretty much for most of her life. Yeah, so unfortunately she hasn't had that experience. So this is where she chooses to go, and Jinbei happens to be waiting here too. So it's nice to see that Jinbei is actually here.
Yeah, excited for that reunion.
Hey, you guys get to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Moving on to Decks of the World Volume 4, Shellstown Server and Training, Rika. Rika has started working at her mother's restaurant where she makes rice balls.
Rika.
I heard they're still made with sugar.
Hey, you gotta get your brand out there somehow. You have to set yourself apart.
You do you, Rika.
Oh yeah.
But it looks like they're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun callback.
And there's a little poster of Luffy behind the counter.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the chapter. Chapter 616, Anniversary for Revenge. The Border Patrol attempts to reach Rigu Palace to warn them that some dangerous people have entered Fishman Island, but they get no response. Robin has learned that there is a Pineglyph here and is on her way to see it. Stress tried to defend Luffy to King Neptune, telling him Luffy would never kidnap the princess. Frankie meets with Tom's brother Den, who happens to be near where Jinbei is waiting for Luffy to arrive. Hody and Vanderdecken arrive at the palace, happy to see taking over will be easy as the guards have already been defeated. Vanderdecken sends a large piece of coral after Shirahoshi and rides it after when she isn't here.
It's kind of a creative use of his ability there.
Mm-hmm.
Get a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah.
Again, no pun intended. I'm here all week, folks.
Keep them coming, Joel.
And this is a free podcast? What?
Oh, man.
Amazing. It definitely harkens back to Buggy. Did he have Luffy carry his feet and impel down?
Yes.
So basically, yeah, to extend the range so he could basically fly. It's
Yeah.
always cool seeing people hack their powers like that.
Yeah. So the first thing that caught my attention in this chapter was the Border Patrol is trying to contact Ryugu Palace, and they say, "Why don't they respond? Is the transponder snail sick?" And that just like is something I had never even thought of. Like, I don't know if it's said here as a joke. Maybe it's said here like sarcastically as a joke. But like, what if transponder snails do get sick, or like, what happens when transponder snails die? Do they die? Like, it just is like such an interesting like loophole in that technology. Like, I'm so curious. Like, if this snail isn't feeling well, it can't receive or send phone calls, or that's, I don't know. It's just such a fun. It's such a fun technology. So it's fun. It's funny hearing it referenced to here
Yeah.
in this way that I had never even thought about it. Of like, yeah, I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, I kind of didn't either, and I feel like I didn't really think into it as much as you did. But now that you mention it, yeah, like there probably that probably is the case where like they are living things, they are creatures. So yeah, if they aren't feeling well, then maybe it does affect like the way that they can do their job. But maybe they have like backup transponder snails where it's like, oh, if this one's sick, we have to use the other one, or maybe bring it from somewhere else. Like we have like another one in a different room or something.
Right.
Do they have like sick days? Do they take time off? Do they have vacations? Do they have like families?
You have to call IT. It's just a veterinarian.
Goes the voicemail. Yeah. It's just the snail being like, "Yeah, he's not here."
But yeah, that's part of the fun of having a world like this where you have like these wacky decisions, and yeah, that is like a fun little thing to think about.
Yeah, it's funny.
Mm-hmm. So, what a menagerie of sea beasts that Hody and Vanderdecken have assembled here.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Oh shit!
Oh my!
Oh,
seriously though, all three of those, plus giraffes and elephants and rhinos.
You got the whole zoo here.
Yeah.
Or the aquarium, or both.
Some
Aquarium zoo.
And these would be Neptunians, right?
I would say so.
I think so, yeah.
Just let me look at the size of them.
They're so huge. They each have like an army on their back.
Yeah, pretty much.
I do really enjoy the zoom out shot, though. The fact they have their flotation bubbles. They look like just like little floaties.
Yeah, I love that.
But like from far away, they're really cute.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they can get around like the actual sky part of Fishman Island.
Right. Yeah. Here they're fitting their Neptunian with like these inner tubes. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Cody, since we weren't on the last episode, I just wanted to ask, because we were introduced to the Fishman Pirates like as a whole. So I just want to know if there are any standouts for you in particular, any certain members of the Fisherman Pirates, any designs or characters that kind of stand out to you.
I'd say I believe Zio is his name.
Yeah.
And then Dharma. Dharma more for the personality.
Yeah. I think Dharma's my favorite.
Yeah. Not ideologically, but just like in expression, Dharma speaks to me.
Yeah.
Just a little aggro gremlin.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, tear him to shreds. Come on.
Yeah,
Never.
It's like
exactly.
perfect
I will
voice
never
for
get
him.
tired of that kind of character. Always fun.
Yeah, Zio
then
was
on
one
the
that stood out to me as well. So
yeah, I feel like on the opposite spectrum of Daruma, you have Hyuzu, who's just like always drunk and he's like, "Why am I even here?" Like he's like the opposite of the fiery little gremlin guy.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. As long as they're paying me, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's basically his
I'm just here for the
FS,
money.
yeah. But no, I think there are a lot of really cool designs here.
Mm.
Decently fleshed out group. I think the only one I want more from I think even Ikaros Mochi has at least has his quirk there. The hammerhead sharkfish man whose name I forget honestly is the one that
Dosun.
Dosun. Yeah,
Yep.
that's the one I don't really have as much of an attachment to, or hasn't really made his mark as much for me.
Still more time.
Exactly. He could just be the ringer.
And then Robin's on her way to try to find the poneglyph.
Kicking ass
That's a
off screen.
big drop. I think that's the 1st mention of that.
There's a poneglyph here.
That there's a poneglyph on Fishman Island
Mm.
or around here somewhere.
And every time we find a poneglyph, it's like, what information are we going to find out from it?
Yeah, my ears always perk up when I hear when I read poneglyph. I'm like, ooh, what? What was that? Here? No, yeah, I love Robin's. I've said it many times, but I love her storyline, and I'm very intrigued to see where this takes us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the great things about Robin's character too, is like she can provide that unique part of the story that no other characters can provide.
Yeah.
And that's part of like her journey too, is to figure out this information. And we as a reader, I think we're also invested in that information that she's seeking. So I think that's why it's particularly interesting for Robin's story, because we want to know like what happened.
Yeah. She even says it here. She says this country should hold the key to the 100-year void.
Yeah.
She's optimistic.
Yeah, so anytime you find a poneglyph, that could be the
her.
case. I'm sorry, what do you think, Cody?
I was saying it's just so nice to see her optimistic and like just it's subtle, but like how excited she is.
Yeah.
It's just great seeing Robin happy and the fact that she's seeing progress toward her dream.
Right.
Yeah. For sure. She's in her element here.
Like I want the lore, but also I'm just like happy for her.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, things aren't going quite so well at the palace. So the Straw Hats essentially had to take over the palace, otherwise they would have had to have been captured. And that's not their style. That's not what they're about. And they're also being accused of taking Shirahoshi, which Luffy's crew is defending him, saying Luffy wouldn't do something like that. So don't blame us.
It is funny seeing the tables turned here, though. I feel like usually up to this point in this series, it's been the other way around, because the Straw Hats aren't a crew to take prisoners and hold people hostage. It's usually the other way around. So it is kind of funny seeing the tables turned here, acting like pirates. What is this?
Things did escalate very, very quickly.
Yeah. True.
Which I'm
you can't half-ass like capturing an entire castle, though.
Right? Yeah.
You got to go all out.
It's nice seeing. I just love seeing Nami and Usopp together, just lamenting their circumstance. It's one of those like little Straw Hat dynamics that I missed seeing so much throughout like Impel Down and Marineford and all those. And even Brooke joining in, all of Brooke's shenanigans, honestly. And we'll get to more of those, but I think that is one thing that I didn't really appreciate as much about this part of Fishman Island, is it does bring back those dynamics I was missing.
Yes. Yeah, because this is kind of like our first time in a while since like the crew has really been together. So we haven't had for, like in real time, it was a few years, but it's also been like a few months for us, because we've been like, reading like the other arcs where the full crew wasn't present. So it has been quite some time since we've had a chance to really get the normal crew dynamics that we're used to. And Brooke was still like a new member of the crew, like when the time skip happened. Like he really wasn't there for that long. So we're still kind of like getting used to Brooke being part of the crew. and like
Mhm.
him like finding his place. So it was kind of like a very interesting choice for Oda to split the crew at that point after just like, kind of introducing Brook and him being there for like an arc. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now you're gone.
After being alone for 50 years too.
Yeah.
Right.
Poor guy.
It's like, it's okay, I'll wait. I waited 50 years, I can wait 2 years.
True. True.
And then we're also introduced to Tom's brother, Den.
Yeah, this is a really cool interaction. Like just how we were saying, I love how like Robin's going off and doing her thing, and here's Frankie doing his thing, and he's meeting Tom's family, which is what he said he set out to do. Um, so yeah, I think this is a really cool interaction. You know, we get a little nod to Frankie's craftsmanship and the materials used. Because like right before this, there's mention of the sun blessed tree of Eve,
Yeah.
which is where we're at, the location. Which I think is kind of interesting because it's mentioned that like this is like a ship graveyard, but it's also like a place where life is flourishing. So I wonder if there's more. I wonder if there's more to that than just like a brief description, because it feels kind of like maybe all the currents lead to this tree or something, and like things are drawn here. They said like the wildlife is drawn here, the coral flourishes, but also it's like a ship graveyard, so ships are also like brought here to die. Kind of, I don't know. Feels kind of like a little like circle of life moment, but also feels like maybe there's more to it than just a coincidence. Plus,
Possible.
with the name like Blessed Sun Tree Eve is like this is not just your everyday tree. You know, there's something going on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it does kind of give this like sense of this is a special place.
Yep.
And I think it's just kind of like a very peaceful place where nature is kind of doing its thing. So we have like kind of like the whole city and like culture of Fishman Island, but we have this place over here where it's very quiet, and you know the fact is like they call it the ship graveyard. You know, it's just like a bustling place. So it is kind of a place where like the fish could just kind of be themselves here, and it's just like a nice kind of reserved place for this. But it does seem to be convenient that Den is here to also help them with the coding, because this will give them a way to actually get out of Fishman Island, because the coding got taken off the ship on the way in. So they do have to
Right.
get coding reapplied to the ship. So they do have somebody that can help them out here. So that is good that Frankie has that connection here.
Seems like everyone's kind of moving towards the same place. I'm getting that feeling.
I also love Den's explanation of fishmen, mermen genes as well. Tying into everything going on with Hody and just the entire history of fishmen. It just make it even more tragic that a group that has no real reason to discriminate based on race has experienced all this. It just makes it that much sadder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Den here explains that you don't have to look like your relatives. Like it kind of like just carries down through generations. So like if you are a certain type of fish man, it just might mean that at some point in like your ancestry, there was somebody that had that type of fish. So that's Oda's kind of explanation here for why everybody can look so different, and not being restricted to like, oh, you have to be like like a whale shark fish man to have like a whale shark son. It's like you can just kind of like be like all different kinds of fish and still be related, and like you have like a fish man and like merman. So it's kind of just like anything goes. So it is kind of cool, but like that's Oda's explanation, and he kind of left himself like that freedom to not like lock himself like into like a certain way that this would work, other than like he kind of like is explaining like why like they can look differently even though they're related. So he has that freedom that he's allowing himself here.
Joel, I appreciate you putting it that way, because that made me think about the Straw Hats and the fact that, I think one, they're their own found family and they're just so different and unique and such this weird little group. But also so many of their parental figures are not related to them by blood.
Right.
Feels like that's all connected to
Yeah.
Oda's thesis here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Appreciate that.
that's a good theme for Oda, where it's like family is kind of like what you make, like the people that you make
Yeah.
into your family, and that can create a stronger bond um, than a blood relative. Because even if we
Mhm.
look at like Luffy, Ace, and Sabo,
Mm-hmm.
they're not blood related, and then Sabo connected more with the people that were his brothers than his parents.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's an important message throughout all of One Piece. That's kind of not like who you're related to, but it's like the family that you find and the people that you want in your life.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's really cool how Oda kind of does capture that here too with this explanation. And he's saying like, I never really understood why you humans separate people according to how they look,
Yeah. So it just kind of shows there's like a different
which is
mentality
so
and mindset.
yeah, and super relevant to like the theme of this arc.
It also leads to this funny joke where Dan asks, "By the way, do you have a robot somewhere in your lineage?" He's like, "I'm human."
That was funny.
So he's like, "Oh, he's finding like humans kind of work all differently."
So good.
And we do get
I also love the.
Frankie showing the
Oh,
hair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
hmm
So yeah, Frankie can change his hairstyle by pressing his nose.
With his little mini
he,
hand.
he does like a little mohawk. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is the little mini hand. Oh, I forgot about that.
And then just him being like, "Oh, hey, who's that guy? Oh, that's Big Boss Jimbei." Like, oh, you're so close. You're so close. And y'all will be homies too. Like, come on. Otis, stop teasing me. I want Luffy's friends and Luffy's other friends to all be friends. Why can't
Yeah.
they all just be friends?
Yeah, and then we end um pretty much like where the chapter ends is when Van Dyke and Hody show up to the palace and they're like, "Well, we're here to take over, but looks like the palace has already been overthrown. So I guess we'll just take it from here. Thanks for the help, guys."
Thanks for the assist. Yeah, not an ideal situation.
All right, you guys good to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next part of the cover story: Decks of the World, Volume 5, Frostmoon Village, reporting to Kuina. Kuina's father visits her grave.
Mm.
The wooden sword. Come
Yeah, I
on,
was just gonna
man.
say the practice sword.
It's too much.
Yeah, it looks like he delivers the newspaper to Kuina.
hmm
Kind of be like, "Hey, check how Zora's doing." And before I get into the chapter, just a quick thing in the SBS. So here Oda explains how Chopper puts like the bonnet hat over his regular hat, and that's why he has like a quote unquote different hat. He's still wearing like his normal hat from Hero Luck, but he just kind of put like a bonnet over it to kind of change up the look.
Mm-hmm.
I love that explanation because the hat is so important to Chopper's character.
Yeah.
You can't give that up. Never.
Yeah, I like that was broken down.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that one out. All right. Chapter 617, Incident at Coral Hill. Hody declares he'll be taking over Fishman Island and intends to pick up where Arlong left off, destroying part of the palace in the process and causing water to start flooding in. Nami takes off while Zoro stands up to fight against Hody. Luffy and Shirahoshi find Sanji and Chopper with Hachi and stop to see what happened. Chopper warns Sanji not to look at the mermaid princess.
It
If
could be
you
worse.
turn around, you'll die.
There's nothing behind you, Sanji. Don't look. Nothing
His
to see
vision
there.
relies on movement.
Yeah, so we start things off back at the palace. So things were pretty rough,
Mm-hmm.
but it just got worse now that Hody and Van Dyken have gone to the palace, and we know their intentions are not good.
Yeah. Hody, I think, showing like another level of villainy here, just like the way he's treating his comrades and what does he say? He says, "What king endangers himself for his people? You're never fit to rule." Which I think only just furthers the fact that he's a terrible leader.
It makes me love Neptune even more.
I mean,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's such a ruthless character. He's literally using his comrades as like a human shields here.
And has such a lack of loyalty that he would describe as conviction, saying that he had no pride serving Neptune and that he only joined the army to learn how to fight. Which to him was just I guess, further what to him is a righteous agenda, but you know, still shows that he has had some degree of treachery from the start.
Yeah.
Also, it wasn't until this chapter that I realized his scarf is a dog.
Oh
It
yeah.
took me
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do learn that that Hody is a former member of Neptune's army, but like Cody was saying, his intentions were not ever to serve the kingdom. It was for his own self-serving purposes. So he kind of used the Neptune army to further himself. And then Nami also notices Arlong's mark on Hody's arm. So that kind of tells Nami all she needs to know about Hody. Yeah, this kind of like Nami's like worst nightmare, where it's like Arlong was
Yeah.
bad enough like in like that part of the East Blue, but Hody wants to kind of take what Arlong did and apply it to the whole world. So like Hody's like, oh, Arlong didn't go far enough, and Nami's kind of like, all right, we can't let this happen.
I'm also realizing Hody's laugh, ja ha 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 ha, is so similar to Arlong's, which was sha ha ha. Like even down to like the way they would be written in Japanese, I think it's just like a little like quotation slash circle slash one of those differentiating marks would be the only thing that's different about them.
Huh.
If I remember correctly, and if I'm wrong, let us know, but just based on memory.
So you're saying he's just like an Arlong imitator and doesn't have like an
Yeah.
original thought himself.
Yes, and I know that's an incredibly original thought of my own to point out parallel between him and Arlong, but essentially, yeah. But it's nice seeing the little aspects of it. Oda committed at the very least.
And there's also this little moment here where Brooke wasn't here for Arlong Park. So he kind of like he's a little glib about it, where he's kind of like, "Oh, Arlong, I never heard Arlong before." He's just kind of like joking about it, and then like Usopp's like kind of kicking like, "Hey, no, like you're gonna like say the wrong thing." So yeah, Brooke doesn't realize the history that Nami has with Arlong and the Fishmen.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of being a little insensitive, not on purpose, but just because he's not familiar with the history. What do you guys think of the fight between Zoro and Hody?
So sick. I love that first panel we get, or the first like full page we get of them facing off is so sick.
Mm-hmm.
That like over the shoulder shot of Zoro with the two swords out. Can't really hold a third sword in your mouth while also holding your breath underwater, I guess.
I also love, even before that, just seeing him cut Neptune's chains like they're nothing. When cutting steel was such a big victory for him back in the first half of the
That's
Grand
a good point. Yeah.
Also short-lived, but Usopp's Rafflesia star was also pretty fun to see.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it makes me think of a Bioplume.
Oh, 100%. Yep.
Yeah, Zoro's going toe-to-toe with Hody in the water. So yeah, he's gonna be fighting a fishman. Kind of in his own like home turf. And we'll kind of see how he handles fighting a fishman now compared to what we saw like in Arlong Park, where they were trying to not go in the water and trying not to get beaten by the fishmen. So we'll see how far they've come since then.
The Straw Hats do not have the friendship of the people over here at the coast. They're not on the people's good side, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, they
Chopper's
kind of
really
go
getting
from the wrong
bottles
foot.
thrown at him. He's just trying to heal Hachi.
And it's
Or
quite the
they?
scene. It'd be hard to make sense of it. You know, these pirates show up,
Yeah.
everything starts going south, and then their leader comes riding in on this massive shark that then vomits up the princess. That's quite the scene to make sense of all that.
Who you know
It's
should not
such
be
a
leaving the
it's such a
castle. Like,
wild right. Such a wild scene.
But I love the way that like Megalo spits out Shirahoshi.
Yeah. It says plop. Like this, all the sound effects in that are ridiculous.
poor Megalo's crying the entire time.
Yeah.
Actually, no, he's just crying tears of joy now that it's over.
Oh man.
Yeah, so the Strats are already like in a bad spot, and now they're adding kidnapping to the public's perception as well. Kidnapping the mermaid princess in particular.
Not a good look.
Okay, are we good to move on to the next chapter?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into chapter 618, Proposal. Sanji decides to risk his life and look at the mermaid princess, thankfully just turning to stone instead of losing blood. Luffy notices Vanderdecken flying towards them on the coral. Shiroshi rejects his marriage proposal, causing him to become enraged. Luffy fends off Vanderdecken and Wadatsumi, and then takes off with Shiroshi and the others on Megalo. Meanwhile, Nami and Kami make their way to the Forest of the Sea.
Hot take. I don't have a problem with this gag. With Sanji. I don't have a problem with it. Because Oda's using Chopper to be like, hey, this is a joke. And I know that I know there is more to Sanji than this. But let's just not take him seriously for a little bit. Do I think it's perfect? No. Am I okay with it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this throughout the series. I love when Oda does this with like the physical emotes, kind of like where the hearts are literally like the heart is literally exploding out of his chest and turning into stone. Like I think that is so fun.
See, what
his
makes
suit
it
is
work for
ripping.
me in particular is like how serious Chopper is about it, and like how dramatic it's kind of playing out.
Yeah.
But like when we kind of know it's like not really that serious. But like the panel where we see it's just like no background, and Chopper's like, Sanji, no. It's like,
Yes.
That's the straight
Love
man's
that.
job. You gotta sell the bit. Gotta sell the bit.
But then like Chopper just like so mortified. He's like, he turned to stone. Yeah,
So funny.
Chopper really sells it for me. But I also do like it's kind of like a twist where it's like he doesn't do the nosebleed, so he turns to stone, which
Yeah.
we've kind of like established with like Boa. That's like kind of like
Mhm.
the thing. So it's not the devil fruit that's doing this, but it's just kind of more like the same kind of effect. So it's just like it's comical, and I do think it's pretty funny here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was funny.
I mean, and Sanji has to look. There's no way he's like gonna be
Right.
like, I have the self control to not look. Like
Sanji.
it's like his dream. Like he's got to.
I love that. I love that's how he justified it. It's like I'd rather live my dream and die.
Dreams the all blue. Hey.
You get more than
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Have more than one.
Chopper's bawling like, please don't do this.
You have so much to live for.
You're gonna die. Oh god. Yeah, this was funny.
I have to send you guys a meme. There's literally a video. It was a drawing and then someone voice acted it. It's Robin reading a book and then Chopper going up crying, being like, "They shut down TikTok." It's oh my god.
That's funny.
But by the time this comes up, TikTok will be back.
Yeah. By the time it got dubbed, TikTok was back pretty much.
Yeah.
I'll save my thoughts on that for a later date.
By the way, we are no longer on TikTok, so I'm just gonna point that out. And I'm not gonna say more than that.
There we go. It's giving world government. It's giving Goro say. Anyway. Oh look, Vanderdecken. We have a simp.
Okay, so this
Oh,
part is hilarious
Vanderdecken.
to me. Where Vanderdecken proposes, and Shirihoshi's response is, "You're just not my type."
Yeah. Good.
So good.
Boundaries. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But
Good
it's
for
not
you.
like no, I would never marry you, creep, or like you've been like
Yeah.
harassing me. It's like no, you're just not my type. Like that's
Nothing
like,
personal.
yeah.
Nothing personal. Not the fact you've been trying to kill me for years. Nothing personal. It's just you're not my type.
I
So
could pass
polite
everything
about it.
else, but like yeah.
It's also kind of like a cards on the table. It's like, hey, like you're killing me because I'm not into you, and here's what I'm not into you. So like, let's just get through to the issue here. I'm not feeling it, buddy. Can we just go,
Yeah.
please?
But there's just like something like
She's
so like
direct.
innocent like about Shirihoshi's response. Like she
Yeah.
does have like that
Yeah.
like the innocence to her. So yeah, I just
Yeah.
thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
Agreed. And then we see Luffy taking on Vanderdecken with his hands literally tied behind his back.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Yeah, Luffy's like, Shiroshi, I got you. You just gotta trust me. I'll handle this guy. And Luffy's true to his word.
I love Vanderdecken's very specific threat of, I'll kill you both. I'll stack you like logs and then chop you into 4 pieces line.
Yeah.
It's like, that's an
Like, I'll cut
oddly
you in half.
specific threat. Yeah.
Don't do it again. I also love Luffy
been-
having to tell someone to stay put. Luffy having to tell
Oh,
someone to
yeah.
not go, to
Right.
just stay where you are. Sorry, have you had someone else?
I was just going to say, we've now seen like our 2 champions, Luffy and Zoro, taking on the 2 main villains, Hody and Vanderdecken, both at massive disadvantages. Luffy was tied both hands behind his back and ankles together, and Zoro was literally completely submerged underwater, and they both bested our 2 main villains currently.
That's a good point.
So chalk up 2 for the Straw Hats.
Yeah, the training has paid off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because at the end of the the chapter, we do see Zoro has sliced Hody.
Yep.
Great panel.
Yep. Great panel. Classic like samurai style. It seemed like they faced up and it was like that one clash and like Zoro bested him in a single strike.
Then we have this little kind of like jump where Nami has left the palace because she left with Kami, and they're heading to the forest. Nami's kind of like, there's nothing I can do here, so this is something more important that I can do to help out. So she decides to leave with Kami to go to the forest of the sea, which is we've been talking about, as we've talked about, is seeming to be like an important place. Where there's kind of a lot of different things can be, and where a lot of people are trying to head to this place specifically.
Seems like the place to be.
Very interested to see her reaction to meeting Jinbei.
Yes. Yeah, so she did want to leave so that way she can get the message to Luffy from Jinbei, but like not fighting Hody. But that is also a good point too, because we know Jinbei had that role in Arlong being unleashed on the East Blue.
Mhm.
So Jinbei is, partly responsible for Arlong and what he did. So yeah, it's very interesting that Nami now might have to confront that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Could be some major beef.
All right, you guys good to move on from this one?
Let's do it.
Okay. Before we get into the next part of the cover story, also just a fun little SBS thing where we see the kid versions of the Warlords.
So cool.
So good. These are all great. These all made me smile.
Yeah.
Also, just saying, Crocodile is very androgynous here. Croco Mom fuel. Croco Mom agenda. Neither confirmed nor denied, which is exactly how I like it till we get to the end game.
Yeah, I did tell Evan about the Croco Mom theory. That
Mhm.
Oh, have we not discussed it like as a group yet?
I don't think we have.
Oh, for some reason I thought it came up during Impel Down. Yeah,
Super interesting.
I stand it. I stand it.
Yeah, so for those not familiar, the Croco Mom theory is that Luffy is Crocodile's son. because
And that
Crocodile is
the
Luffy's
big
mom.
and that the secret that Ivankov said that they would let out if Crocodile didn't play nice was that Crocodile used to be a woman and had all that, and potentially other circumstances depending on how deep you go into it with like ties to Dragon and all these other factors that would have led to Luffy's birth. There's like offshoots of the theory. It's insane. What in the best way what this fandom does with just like that one little panel.
Yeah, so it's kind of like they just took like they took like the leap that okay, so Ivankov probably turned Crocodile from a woman to a man, but they took another leap from there. Like, okay, well that must mean that we don't know who Luffy's mom is, so it's got to be Crocodile. So that's why we don't know who Luffy's mom is. So that's kind of like the thought behind that.
Crocodile's the missing piece to all of it.
In full seriousness, there was like a meme I saw a few days ago where it's like, oh, every 2 years ago, there's just like some of the characters like, oh, it's Luffy's mom. Oh, it's Luffy's mom. Oh, this must be Luffy's mom. Oh no, that one's Luffy's mom. Oh no, that one's Luffy's mom. Every like all the time. Well, we all know Dodon's Luffy's mom.
Yeah. So it just kind of like stemmed from that, and now it's just kind of like blown out of proportion. So like anybody can be Luffy's mom.
So stupid and so fun in the best way.
I do think it's also interesting that Kuma has a book as a kid. So we've always seen with the Bible, but he has a different book in hand. But he still has a book.
That was I forget the statue, but like this, it's an homage to like a really famous Japanese statue. I forget the name of it. I'm sure it'll come up at some point.
Kuma here?
Yeah. The basically I think I've literally seen the statue of it. Like there's a replica of it in Little Tokyo. It was like a Japanese folktale about I think someone who was born a very poor serf, studied, eventually became the mayor of his township or whatever, and then eventually became like a feudal lord. And so that's like,
oh, okay,
gotcha.
Yeah. And so it's like Kuma's pose, the sticks on his back, the book he's reading, just like the way he's taking steps are all very much in line with that statue.
Okay, I think it's is it Ninomiya Santoku?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm wondering if that's what the like the Ninokin is referencing.
I think so.
I can't find what Ninokin actually means. So if anybody does know, let us know. But I couldn't find out exactly what that meant. But I did find the statue. I did see it says Ninomiya. So I definitely see the reference here.
Yeah.
Neat.
And that's also interesting because we don't really know much of Kuma's backstory here, but he was known as the Tyrant. So it could also be like that connection where he did do the studying and now he became some kind of ruler or like a king or something. So that could also be like an homage to the story that you just mentioned, which I didn't know about that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, good. Oda does love his twists. He does love taking folklore.
Very cool.
So who knows? Also, I love seeing Happy Moria. I didn't realize I could like feel this way about this guy. I wish things went differently for him, man.
Mm-hmm. Also, Teach is sitting down crying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I think it's interesting to show Teach in that way because I didn't really think about it that much. But we just know Teach is like this kind of despicable pirate. We've seen all the bad things he's done.
Yeah.
But as a kid, he looks to be lonely. He's just like sitting there like with the moon. So I wonder if there's like a deeper meaning to this picture that's not really like elaborated on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after the whole conversation we just had about Kuma, I feel like there's probably some foreshadowing here or some sort of subliminal messaging.
Yeah.
Knowing Oda.
We see Teach jovial very often. We see him arrogant. We've seen him angry. We've seen him scared out of his mind, but we haven't really seen him sad.
Yeah.
So,
it's a new side that Oda's keeping from us, which I'm really excited for.
So there might be more to him than we might have thought.
God, I love the Warlords.
Such
a cool group of characters.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun little SBS thing, just to kind of show a little insight. There's a lot that can be shown just from like these pictures, without any words or anything like that. So, all right, but let's keep things moving, and we'll go to the next part of the cover story. Decks of the World, Volume 6, grand opening in Orangetown of the giant pet food shop, Shoo Shoo. Shoo Shoo's new pet store has opened.
He's got his
Right.
little bow tie, and there's a statue of him.
With the straw hat.
Oh, buddy, with the straw hat.
With the straw hat. Oh, so good.
They
I
all
love
look so happy.
The building has a straw hat as well.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this
Amazing.
is great.
How heartwarming.
Yeah, Shoo Shoo with bow tie, so cute.
Oh, buddy.
The statue even has like the broken pet food box.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, this is great.
Might be the best cover story best cover story we've ever had. Right?
It might be, honestly.
It could be.
Like, it doesn't get better than that.
So good.
I don't care about moon hieroglyphics. I don't care about weird rainbow hallucinations. I just need a happy dog. That's all I need.
It's the good boy.
All right, let's get into chapter 619, At the Forest of the Sea. Zoro proves to be able to handle Hody, so the fishman resorts to taking energy steroids. Neptune uses an ultramarine wave to clear a path for his soldiers to escape with the help of Hoei. Hody and the fishman appear to be too strong and are able to capture them before they can get away from the palace. Luffy and the others meet up with Frankie and Jinbei. Jinbei is shocked to see the princess outside the tower and Tachi's condition. Frankie introduces them to Den, who's coding the sunny for them. Luffy fights off Vanderdecken's flying objects while Shiroshi pays her respects to her mother. Nami arrives with Kami in time for Jinbei to begin explaining he is the one who's responsible for setting Arlong free on East Blue, thanking them for stopping his reign of terror. Okay, so quite a bit here.
Yeah.
I'm not normally much of a power scaler, but and this isn't even really power scaling, but it's nice to see Neptune has the strength to back his title up.
Mm.
And he can do a Kamehameha underwater.
Come on, that's sick.
It's very cool. I feel like the merman combat looks a lot like the fishman karate kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, which I think, again, it looked cool when Jinbei did it, and it looked cool when Neptune did it. Like, it's just such a cool, you can see the water being physically grabbed, and like, it's like, how do you draw something like that? And I think Oda does such a good job
For
displaying that. Like, it's super readable. It makes sense. Like, it's just really fun.
Yeah, that's really
and
cool.
Done really minimally too. Like, he didn't have to do a lot for it, but he did it just right.
It gets the point across though, and it looks really good. And
Yeah,
speaking of Neptune,
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of Neptune, we see him being an amazing leader and putting himself in harm's way and sacrificing himself for his comrades. Where just a few short chapters ago, we saw Hody doing the exact opposite. And so I feel like it really kind of shows how different these two people are that are trying to occupy the same sort of leadership role over Fishman Island. So
yeah, like Hody had no problem grabbing like the other fishman, like using him as a human shield so he didn't get hit.
Yep. And here Neptune's jumping in the way. Like,
yep.
Neptune's jumping in between his comrades in danger.
But we do see Zoro does take down Hody here, and then one of his subordinates has to be like, oh, Hody, here, take the steroid. This will give you some like an energy boost to kind of get back in the game. So Zoro did do some work on Hody, which is very impressive.
Likely one shot at him.
Yeah, light work.
Light work. He's on the PEDs.
But yeah, unfortunately, Hody's kind of back in the game real fast, and he's kind of like, all right, let's stop Neptune right here.
Yeah, good.
And then Zoro, Usopp, and Brook seem to be captured. They're like, "Hey, whose skeleton is this?"
Best line of the chapter. Best line of the volume, even. Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. That was great.
But Luffy and Jinbei are reunited.
Yeah, finally.
And Princess Shirahoshi and Jinbei, which was the double take I never expected. I was not expecting that at all from Jinbei, but I'm so glad we got that double take from Jinbei.
So we kind of get like another like a Nell face panel.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So when we first saw like the NL face, I did mention that like we probably see like a few more of these throughout the series.
Yeah.
So it's another example of that. The eyes popping out.
Yep. It's just funny because I feel like Jinbei's such like a stoic character. I just wasn't expecting to get this panel from him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like a double shock for me. That was great.
Yeah, first it's all like, "Oh, Princess Shirahoshi, is with you. Good to see you again, Princess. What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
First thing after the page
so
turn
good.
2.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Smart.
perfect.
Smart.
He kind of does it again too when he sees Hachi's all beat up.
Yeah.
But we do find out that the grave Shirahoshi's visiting is her mother, Otohime. Shirahoshi wasn't even able to attend the funeral.
Yeah.
Of her imprisonment. So Vanderdecken's taken even more away from her than we thought.
Yeah, like her like opportunity to properly grieve her mother's passing.
Mhm.
Right.
She kind of didn't really get that moment. Now she's getting it here, but it's been so delayed. And then Nami does arrive towards the end of the chapter, and Jinbei does mention that he's one that let Arlong free, and he caused a rampage. So he does thank them for stopping Arlong. But now it does seem like Nami might have to confront Jinbei about his role there.
Yep. Got a very delicate situation here.
Yes. It's going to be tense.
But do you guys have anything else before we move on from this one?
Nope.
I think I'm good. I just noticed that when Luffy deflects the axe that was heading towards the princess, it was going to hit her right in the back. And I wasn't thinking about it, but now that we've seen the ability in action a few times, it does seem to hit people in the back. And I wonder if that's part of the... I wonder if that's just happened, I wonder if it's a chance, because we've seen Hachi get hit twice, both times in the back. Once was because he was fleeing, so naturally the arrows would have hit him in the back. But the knife definitely didn't have to hit him in the back. Could have hit him anywhere, really.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back to see.
Maybe I'm overanalyzing it.
In the previous chapters, the chapter 618. I'm not sure if we see the directions where it's coming from. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It could just be coincidence.
Could be coincidence. But we don't know. All right, so let's get into Decks of the World Volume 7. A newcomer to the Island of Rare Animals. Barrel Woman Sarfunkel. Gaimon is happy to meet Sarfunkel, who happened to come to this island is in the same situation he is.
Wow.
Next level puns from Oda.
Amazing. Like 2 peas in a pod.
I love this. I love it for them.
This is amazing. I love this for them. Yeah. Honestly, the cover stories this volume have been exceptional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love these one-offs. I love when we just get like just fun little one-off panels. The cover stories are fun, but like I personally am a big fan of these.
Yeah, it's just like a nice little check-in with these characters we haven't seen for like most of the series. So this kind of a nice way to kind of be like, hey, let's just check in on like all these places we've been to in the past.
Yeah.
I know it's so easy for newcomers to One Piece to say, oh my God, like the series is just so long. And like, I get it. It's way longer now than it was when I started reading it. But like stuff like this is what makes it being such a long series such a good thing and so rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that's not a weakness. It's a strength for the series.
100%. 100%. And this is why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an intimidating factor to get into it. But like you said, I do think it's something that when you are in it, there's just that much more payoff when you do finally get to that moment. Like, like you said, like these moments have been building for so long now that the payoff is just so amazing.
Yeah, and we are like 620 chapters into the series at this point, which is longer than a lot of other series are altogether. And Cody, actually, I just caught up on Hunter x Hunter today.
Oh, really?
I am now, yeah, I just finished the last few chapters, so now I'm also in the waiting game.
Welcome
But
to hell.
yeah,
Welcome to hiatus, ex hiatus.
but that's a series that's like 410 chapters right now, and like we're at 620 just in One Piece. We're like not even like halfway really, so we're probably about like halfway.
Naruto went to 700. We're almost as much as the series is almost as long as Naruto now for where we are. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, exactly. Where
Crazy.
we've covered, like just us, like we went from like the beginning. Now we're here at this point. I think that's already kind of like monumental. So it's just kind of crazy to see like how much ground we've actually covered of like this long series. I know like we're not like binging the series, which we could easily binge the series and like be caught up like right away. But the fact that we're kind of doing this like in this format and we're still at this point, it kind of just blows my mind because we have been going at like kind of like a certain pace for it.
And
Honestly,
book
I'm
clubbing
thankful
it
for it.
every week.
Yeah.
Like I've never experienced that with any other series, where I've actually gotten to like sit down and talk about the volume with somebody after each reading, which is so cool. And for me, like being a first time, like this is such a cool experience.
Good. That's the goal.
Yep.
I don't know if I've said this on the podcast. I may have, but like I would give everything to like reread Alabaster for the first time, read Water 7 for the first time again. So anytime I see someone going through it for the first time, there's always like this vicarious joy I get.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Very glad.
But that's why we get to kind of record Evan's first time reaction to the series. So we kind of always have that like first time reader experience to go back to and be like, this is somebody reading the series for the first time. This is what they were thinking when they went through this.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, I just think that's like a fun thing to kind of capture. And that's been my intention with this. But to get back on track to this.
Right.
Yeah, so it is a funny pun that we have a play on Simon and Garfunkel. Gaimon and Sarfunkel.
Love that. So good.
And then Sarfunkel is a woman stuck in a barrel, just like Gaimon stuck in the treasure chest. But it's nice that they found each other. Like
incredible.
Like probably the only two people in the world in the situation they found each other. So that's kind of sweet.
I want to know how she got there. I want to know how she got in the barrel and on the island.
Yeah.
Oh man, so good.
Amazing.
All right, but let's wrap up the episode with chapter 620, The Wonderful Amusement Park. Across Fishman Island, the new Fishman pirates demand the citizens to stop on a picture of the late Queen Otohime. Caribou saw the mermaid princess and plans to capture her. Nami asks Jinbei about the role he played in Arlong's plots, to which Sanji warns him to be careful how he answers, because Nami suffered greatly due to Arlong. Nami thinks back on her painful memories, but admits to Jinbei she didn't realize the discrimination fishermen experienced until they arrived at Sabaody. Jinbei explains humans caused havoc on Fishman Island until Whitebeard stood up for them, declaring the island his territory. In the past, Queen Otohime and Fisher Tiger both worked to make peace with humans. The Fishman slaves who were freed by Fisher Tiger formed the Sun Pirates, which included Jinbei, Arlong, and Hachi. He then begins to tell the story of what happened 15 years ago. Yeah, so a lot to kind of unpack here.
Yeah.
So we do kind of start out the chapter where the new Fishman pirates are kind of going around and trying to get the citizens to stop on the picture of Otohime, who's been a beloved figure for Fishman Island, but it's what she was trying to achieve that is in disagreement with the Fishman pirates. So in order to kind of make a declaration against like this figure of Fishman Island, they want people to step on her picture to kind of like disavow her and be like, no, we're gonna go back to Fishman like superior. We're gonna take out humans. So they kind of want people to commit to this and make this statement kind of by force and kind of show what world that they're trying to build here. So they're kind of putting these people like in this uncomfortable situation to make them fall in line and be like, oh, look, see all the people supporting us. Like they're the ones who they hate people too. So or they hate humans. So they're kind of like being just very cruel about this and making people take a stand for something they probably don't really believe in.
Yeah, it's not really a question, right? It's like pledge your loyalty or die kind of situation. It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
Or get exiled at least, but still.
right. Get exiled as an enemy.
Yeah.
This is
And yeah, I'm so good.
No, I'm just saying it's hitting even more now than it did when I first read it, just based on, what makes someone the citizen of a country. And if it's not by your birth, what ideology will prove that, and how does it get proven? And it's just terrifying how on the nose this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is also the same thing that they did to Luffy when he first arrived. They told Luffy, you need to make a decision. You need to join us or we'll kill you right here. Like we're giving you a chance to join us. But they kind of give them like an ultimatum that doesn't really seem like a choice.
Right.
And then Prince Fukaboshi shows up and he's not happy about this development.
Hell
And he
yeah.
ends up punching Dosan in the face. Like, how
Hell yeah.
dare you like make a mockery of this country and have people step on the photograph of our late mother. So it's good that he's standing up to them and be like, hey, like this isn't right. Our mother worked for this and you're coming in and trying to like destroy her legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Karibu shows his face. I forgot all about that sleazeball.
Great.
I saw him, I was like, oh, great. Forgot about this loser.
Like, by the way, I'm still here.
Yeah, by the way, still creepy, still here.
Pencil mustache having, greasy hair looking, long tongue flicking ass, weirdo. He's got a very nasty plan to sell off Shirahoshi. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, hopefully. But we know he's already kind of seen dollar signs every time he sees a mermaid, so.
But then we do cut back to the Forest of the Sea. And I love the fact that Sanji has a Shirahoshi-sized teacup.
Yes.
It's really nice, honestly.
Yeah,
so good.
Funny. He has to like deliver one on his hand, one on his face, and one on his leg to Shirahoshi. Yeah. So then we do get the confrontation where Nami is now kind of learning like what Jinbei's like involvement was with Arlong, and Jinbei also seems kind of shocked to be like, oh, okay, this person directly suffered because of Arlong. Like it's worse than I thought. It's like, oh yeah, thank you guys for stopping Arlong. I didn't realize what he was doing to you. But then Sanji here kind of steps in, and he seems to also be holding Jinbei accountable for Arlong here. It's like, hey, be careful what you say, because Nami was hurt by Arlong because of you. So you better have like a good reason for this. So yeah, what do you guys think of this exchange here?
I have some thoughts. I feel like I'm glad it was said, but I think it felt weaker that Sanji said it. And I think that's been just because, and this has been something we've talked about, just kind of like Sanji's character has kind of been a joke for a while now. And so I feel like I'm no longer taking him very seriously as a character. And this is a very serious moment. And what he says, I love. I love that he says what he says when he says it. But 2 frames earlier, he's balancing teacups on his head and not taking this seriously at all. And then the mood changes and Sanji steps in. And again, I'm glad he does. And I do like what he says, but I think it would have been maybe more impactful for me reading it if Nami had said that, or if maybe Luffy had said that.
Cody, do you have any thoughts on that?
I have no problem with the tonal whiplash of it. if it actually in that respect, I felt like having that sudden shift was honestly nice. It was like, oh, it reminded me of Sanji's importance as a character and the fact that he is someone who makes someone else's problems his problems. He is that
Mm,
compassionate person. But I
yep.
do agree that I would rather he wasn't the one who said that because I do wish Nami was the one who got to say that. And but for
And-
plot reasons, it makes sense that Sanji was the one to mention the thing that's been at odds with Jinbei's characterization so far is the fact that we were introduced to him as like this alleged, monster who set Arlong free. And
right.
I guess plot wise, circumstantially, like that those conditions make sense for Sanji to say, but there was also Nami's also incredibly she has her finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world. She could easily have that information as well. So I think Nami should have been the one to say it.
See, I'm actually going to disagree with both of you here.
Ooh.
But I do appreciate you guys like having that opinion. But for me, I do like the way this plays out.
Mhm.
So it is like a tone shift, but I think it's an appropriate tone shift. So we do have
Mhm.
like Sanji being silly. Then like
Mhm.
the conversation does shift to Nami asking the question like Jinbei, like, what do you mean, like that you let Arlong loose? And then Sanji kind of like he shifts gears. He's like, okay, we're going to the serious thing. And then he's seen firsthand like the hurt that Nami has experienced. And Sanji's being himself, being like the overly protective type character. He's like,
Mhm.
how dare you like hurt Nami? Like, that's in character for him. But what I like is that because it's not Nami saying this, Nami is quiet. So Nami is processing. I think she's kind of had this experience where she didn't realize what the fisherman went through. And because of the experiences, I think she's kind of recontextualizing what happened to her and why it happened and realizing that there was more to it as opposed to just like the fishermen are bad. And now she's saying it's not as like clear as she thought it was before. So now she has to kind of confront like the history behind what happened to the fisherman and why Arlong was there in the first place. So I think Nami is quiet because she's not entirely sure what to think, and she's actually processing and trying to give Jinbei like a fair chance as to what his reasoning is and what he says. And I think that's important that Nami doesn't specifically say anything here because she's not sure quite what to think, and she wants to reserve her judgment until she kind of hears like the full story.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And like, I want Sanji to be like, I want to be able to take Sanji seriously. I want Sanji's character to get redeemed in a way where, um, in these moments, I can take him more seriously. Like I get what he's saying is very serious, but like I said, just with all of the jokes and non-serious moments we've had lately, like first time reading this through, it didn't hit the way I wanted it to hit. Just because like at this point in the story, I'm like not taking Sanji as seriously as I'd like to. But I'd love for that to change. Like if this is a tonal moment that kind of starts making me taking what he says more seriously, I think that'd be great, and that's something I would be happy about. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Sen. Like
Okay.
no, I'm agreeing with what you were saying as well. Like
Hmm.
having Nami not say something here. Like I definitely agree with what you had to say about that. That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
Joel,
Oh, go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say, Joel, I'm very much with you on serious versus comedic and all that. I think that I take Sanji completely seriously, and I think I appreciate what you said because thinking about Nami processing in this moment and the fact that Sanji is really giving her the space to process kind of makes you look at what he's saying in a different light because Nami has already been through so much trauma because of Arlong and because of the impact of whatever Jinbei did. We don't know all the details, but Jinbei himself says he's at the center of it. But I can see it from Sanji's perspective of being why should she have to be the one to unearth this?
Yeah.
This isn't her fault. She shouldn't have to do any extra work. So I see more of the choice to have him say that now. It's making much more sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of like not saying Sanji is necessarily wrong here, but I think it's just in his nature to want to protect Nami. So he's
Mhm.
almost like not really giving Nami the chance to respond herself because he's already like trying to be protective. So like I think his intentions are good, He's not actually giving Nami the chance to answer herself. And, like, he's kind of jumping the gun and assuming, okay, well, Nami might not forgive you, or even if Nami does forgive you, maybe I won't forgive you because of like the impact that you had on Nami and the Nami that like the hurt that Nami had. It's almost like that's more important to him. Like, is like Nami went through that, and like I'm just angry that you put Nami through that. But yeah, I think he is kind of like almost being overprotective, and it is ultimately going to be up to Nami whether or not she forgives Jinbei for what happened. But yeah, I think it's just kind of important to kind of have that space and allow Nami to deal with this in a way that makes sense to her.
Really good point.
Yeah. And I think Nami handles this really well too. I feel like she very easily could have jumped to conclusions or been defensive, but to me, it feels like she knows the trust that Luffy and the crew members have for Jinbei, or specifically Luffy has for Jinbei, and so I feel like is willing to hear him out and hear his side of the story before jumping to conclusions or asking hard questions.
Yeah, and then to kind of see like the rest of this conversation. So like it seems like they filled Jinbei in on like Nami's hardships because she was kind of thinking back on this. And then Jinbei says, "It seems you've endured a great deal." And Sanji's the one that says, "Is that all I have to say?" Like that wasn't good enough for Sanji. But again, Nami doesn't say anything right away. And then her answer is, "Yes, after all this time, I still wouldn't pity Arlong no matter what happened to him. But before I got to Sabaody Archipelago 2 years ago, I never knew the mighty fishermen had been persecuted by humans." So like she had this perception of the fishmen from her direct experience with them, but now she's seeing there's actually more to the picture than what I originally realized.
Yeah.
And she actually drew the parallel with like Sabaody Park to Arlong Park. It's almost like Arlong took his pain and kind of like had power. Like when he had the power, he's like, okay, I can kind of rebuild Sabaody Park in my image and make this like a safe haven for me. So Arlong kind of did this also as like a defense for himself because of the experiences that he went through. So it's kind of like just like a cycle. It'd be like we're just like going back and forth, like perpetuating like this discrimination and just making it worse for each other. So that's just kind of like a way of like showing like it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, there's some killer quotes. There's some amazing quotes and lines in this chapter. One of which Jinbei says while describing like Whitebeard stepping in, and like the racist actions of the government. He says it's almost ironic. Those with the greatest power fear change the most. And that line stuck with me. I feel like that's super relevant and just like really well said and ties into the theme of this conversation and the theme of this arc really well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, because like the people with the power might want things to stay the same because they're happy with the status quo. It benefits them,
right?
So they're like,
Self-serving.
yeah, exactly. So hey, it's like it works for us. Like we don't care about the people that's hurting. So and they're the ones that have the power to change things, but they're the ones that aren't doing it. Again, I feel like that's very relevant today in our current world.
Yep.
To me, that does apply to the current situation.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Big time.
Also, I just want to come back to one thing real quick. With the Sabaody Park, Arlong Park, I think that's one of the things I really loved about the way the live action handled Arlong Park. They brought they brought that parallel even further, regardless of whether they ever get to Sabaody Archipelago, regardless of whether it means anything to first time viewers. They committed to the parallel and they saw it through.
Nice.
Yeah, with all the rides and the carnival aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Jinbei really hits the nail on the head here.
Yeah, so now it's kind of like Jinbei's turn to kind of give more of the history of the fishmen, what they went through, and kind of like the role that Queen Otohime had played. So she tried to convince the citizens to live with peace with humans. She was Shiroshi's mother, and the other was Fisher Tiger, the hero that freed the slaves. He insisted on setting himself apart from humans. He rose up and broke the great taboo. So yeah, and then Luffy recognizes the name Fisher Tiger. But these seem to be the two figures from Fishman Island who were determined to kind of break that cycle of discrimination with fishmen and humans. So I think those are the two pivotal figures, and I think we're gonna get more of those characters. In the next part of the volume, as you know, the the title of the volume probably implies. But we just get a brief introduction to those characters here, and we're gonna get into that with the second half.
Yeah, very excited for some Fisher Tiger backstory and Otohime as well.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, did you guys have any other final thoughts for the chapter or the volume as a whole?
Well, I'm getting pretty excited. I feel like it's cool all the parallels we're getting to Arlong. It kind of feels like a full circle moment where like our first major arc of the series is like coming back essentially in such like a interesting and now so complex and involved way, because of all the story we've had since Arlong. And so I'm just like really excited, and especially with like the poneglyph also being tied in. Like it feels like we're kind of coming to like a very like important moment, in potentially getting some insight into the 100-year void. And all and yeah, and it seems to all be tied and coming together to like a really interesting spot we're at. So I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. No, Cody, were you all set? Did you have anything else?
That's pretty much all. I guess Fishman Island. I know it's some people say it's a rather forgettable arc. But I think it's there's a lot of substance here that I think just gets more and more pertinent and more real by the day. So I'm glad to be revisiting it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I do think that it is common for people to kind of dismiss this arc. As we go through, I think we'll try to dissect why people feel that way. Um, but so far, I do appreciate the topics that Oda is introducing here. And I did mention this in the past. Like, I do think Oda is willing to touch upon some of these topics that are a little uncomfortable, but I think they're important to discuss. And this is one of them. And I appreciate Oda trying to get this message out and discuss this topic. And he's applying it into the world of One Piece. But we're seeing how these things can be rooted in history and how they're being perpetuated. And it's not something that's easy to break. But I think hopefully we can get through the story and kind of see Oda's take on this, and we'll see what he does with the topic. But the fact that he's introducing it here and talking about it, I do think is very fascinating, and I think it's worth discussing, both within the context of the story and on a real world scale.
Yeah, and
Pretty amazing to tie it into like a shonen manga. Like
Oda
Yeah.
goes there.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oda goes there, and I think that's incredible. Like I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And that's one thing like that I really praise about One Piece when I try to like sell the series. People like I tell them it covers a whole bunch of different spectrums, and I think it's kind
Yeah.
of hard to like really see that, especially like just from like the early part of the story. It's kind of like not really something you can really sink your teeth into, like in that sense. Like it might just be, oh, this is like a fun series. Oh, this cool action. But then as you go in, you see like how serious like the story can get. And the story does have like it could be like hilarious. It's got cool action. It'll make you like sad, make you cry. It makes you cry over a boat. Like there's like all these different
Yeah.
things about the series that it does so well, and that's what I love about One Piece. Like Oda's like spinning all these plates, and he's not dropping the plates. I think for the most part.
Yeah, well said.
All right, but that will conclude this week's episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. You can find this episode wherever podcasts are found at We're Reading One Piece podcast.buzzsprout.com or on our YouTube channel at We're Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel up to where we have recorded the podcast. So if you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Pirate King Codex for more One Piece content. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach us at weirdingonepiece@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from listeners, so if you're enjoying the show, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make it better, let us know. Next episode, we'll be finishing Volume 63, Otohime and Tiger. I've been Joel, and I've been joined by Evan.
Thanks for listening.
and Cody.
It's about to get real.
All right. Well, be sure to bring along all of your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode.